Jonah, you brought up a very interesting question on Twitter this morning. You and a friend of yours and a friend of mine, Jerry Krasnick, a great baseball writer for ESPN, were talking about Brandon Crawford, the shortstop for the San Francisco Giants, and what a great season he's having. Krasnick just wrote an article about him. You asked the question, Brandon Crawford or Troy Tulowitzki? Now, in past years, nobody ever would have asked that question. Crawford's very good defensively, but this year it's a bit of a coming out party offensively too, isn't it?
Yeah, it sure is. I mean, he's been great across the board. He's hitting for power on base around 400. I mean, he's been a complete offensive player. And that's in a very tough ballpark, by the way. It takes a lot to hit home runs in that park. As well as to sneeze on camera. And thank you.
Sneeze.
And he's been a great all-around player, no doubt about it. And I think that also this casts a little bit of light on Tulo, who has really picked it up lately. He's hitting a lot better, but he's on the other side of 30. You know, he's had the injury concerns. It's an interesting question, and the way that I posed it was, let's take contracts out of the way. Let's even take ballparks out of the way. Let's assume that they both played the same kind of neutral ballpark that was neither a pitcher's park nor a hitter's park. Who would you want for the next 5 years? Now, Crawford's not that young. He's only 2 years younger than Tulo, but the age curve in baseball can be very unforgiving, and certainly so can injuries. And I think it's an interesting question. I don't have an easy answer for that. And when I posed it to Twitter, it was close to 50-50. There were a lot of Crawford supporters, which was maybe a little surprising to me, but definitely a lot of people that said, look, Tulo is still the best shortstop in baseball until he proves otherwise.
Jonah's sneeze, of course, brought to you by Kleenex. Jonah, I want to ask you about the Rockies pitching. Can it be better, or is it what it's always going to be? Just okay, if not low, in the National League. I know we see Chad Bettis doing all right here and there, but it's just so depressing.
Now, wait, are you saying because of altitude or because the Rockies just historically have not been able to develop, or are the two connected?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, no, I think all those things are connected. And furthermore, if you talk to any agent in the game, I've talked to a few about, would you send your client there? They said, heck no, there's no way that we would advise our client to go over there. That the premium for money would be so exorbitant to say, okay, we're going to take Colorado over wherever, Seattle, New York, Houston, that we just, it would never, ever happen. The Rockies would not pay that kind of money. So now you're down to, you pretty much only have two avenues, which is number one, develop somebody like that, or number two, trade for someone and hope that you get lucky. So it really puts the Rockies under the gun further. Free agency, not having access to free agency is a big issue and a big problem, really. This recent generation of prospects, this was supposed to be the one, right? I mean, Eddie Butler has had his moments. It's early in his career, and guys don't always develop like Trout or Harper. They're instant stars, but so far not necessarily great. Same thing with Bettis. Matzik had a good year last year. He struggled a little bit more this year. John Gray, who we've been waiting for a while, he's not yet in the majors. Could he contribute? These are supposed to be the next wave of pitchers who's supposed to contribute and make them into a team that, their raw ERA or whatever wouldn't necessarily be good, but if you adjusted for park effects and just said, okay, let's neutralize it, those numbers would come out well. Here's the thing. If you make that adjustment, you say, okay, let's pretend the Colorado's at sea level, the numbers still don't look good. That's how bad they've been right now.
Our guest is Jonah Keri. He writes for Grantland.com, and he's on ESPN's Baseball Tonight regularly.